The glossary is an activity. It can be assessed and you can accept content from students for it. Like all objects in Moodle, it must have a name and you must give a glossary description. There are quite a few parameters to set on the glossary, and they will depend on whether or not you're using it as an assessed piece of work. Important things to think about are allowing duplicate entries, allowing comments on entries, approving by default, other things that are more administrative. By default, out of the box, Moodle allows you to automatically link glossary entries inside your Moodle course. Now, that's fine if you're dealing with quite an unusual term. But if you have a term that's actually used quite commonly throughout your whole course, you might find your course becoming infested with hyperlinks. Then you have the usual parameters: restricting access, activity completion. But once you've created your glossary, you won't find any entries because the glossary itself is just a container for all of those entries. You have to add the entries one at a time. And to do that, select Add a New Entry. So you need your concept and then your definition. You can add things like keywords, so you can relate entries into the glossary to each other. You can also add things like attachments, so you can have your definition and then further information in a PDF. Another thing that you can do, because this is an HTML editor that allows you to add things like media, so you can add video, you could also embed a YouTube clip, you can add images, you can use special characters, you can use tables. A glossary item can become quite a sophisticated object if you want it to. Once you're happy with your item, then just save it. So here's my term. And here's my definition, which I got from Wikipedia. If you look on the settings for the glossary, you can see that it is possible to import entries. Unfortunately, you can only import entries that have been created in an XML format. So the main thing that you might do with these imported entries are import them from one course to another. However, that can be very useful in the long run, as you might have a glossary that you might start in one course that could run over several courses for several different years and turn into a very large resource. To import entries, select Import Entries, and then you need to select a file. If it recognises the file format, it will be quite happy about it and show you the name of the file. You can import into the current glossary, or you can import into a new glossary. If you have categories set up in your glossary, it will also import the items and import them into the correct categories. You select Submit. It will tell you how many entries there are and how many entries have been imported. Once you're happy with that, you can select Continue. And you will find your glossary has been very quickly added to.